New Thinking Aloud is presented by the California Institute for Human Science, Mind, Body, Spirit University, a leader in fully accredited in-person and online U.S. college degree programs in the topics we cover here. Visit their website at cihs.edu.
Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with psychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jeffrey Mishlove. We'll be exploring integral education today, and my guest is Professor Thomas Brophy, who is an astrophysicist. He is also president of the California Institute of Human Science. He is the author of several books, including The Mechanism Demands a Mysticism, Explorations of Spirit, Matter, and Physics. In addition, he has written The Origin Map, a prehistoric megalithic map of the universe, and two books co-authored with Robert Bauval. One is called Black Genesis, the Prehistoric Origins of Ancient Egypt, as well as Imhotep the African, the Architect of the Cosmos. Welcome again, Thomas.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here again.
It's a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for coming to Albuquerque. I know that as the president of a small college, integral education is central to the work that you do. So I'm very happy to have this discussion. But a lot of people, when they hear the word integral, especially as it relates to education, I think it's more understood as a mathematical function than as a feature of education. What just do you mean by that?
In integral education, we mean integrative or holistic education. Integrative education is mind, body, spirit inclusive. It's inclusive of exterior world and interior world, or exteriority, physical aspect of reality, and interiority, consciousness aspect of reality, and also inclusive of individual aspect and social collective aspect of being. Mm-hmm. And it's more than just integral as education. It's more than just being inclusive of all these aspects of reality. It's incorporating them into reality, into education, including development, human development, and cultural development for, as the founder of my institute would put it, for the development of a sustainable global society.
Now, that founder is Dr. Hiroshi Motoyama, about whom we've done a previous interview, and I'm going to link to that if viewers are interested. There's a hot link in the upper right-hand corner of the screen that'll take them if they'd like to see that prior interview, which might be a good introduction to our topic today, because in a way, Motoyama exemplified the concept of integral education.
Yes, I think so, really, and he created 8 principles for the operation of CHS as an institute that I wrote a little paper that can be seen as an integral paradigm of their own, developed independently by Motoyama on a par with other integral paradigms like the Ken Wilber's integral paradigm and Roy Bhaskar, the British philosopher's integrative approach to meta-reality, and Sri Aurobindo. So I wrote another little paper connecting the roots of Motoyama's development of Motoyama philosophy and his integral approach to education, to Aurobindo's integral approach to education, and integral yoga, the Sivananda yoga tradition in India that was connected with Aurobindo, and Aurobindo's integral philosophy. That's where the term integral philosophy came from was Aurobindo's use. Sri Aurobindo.
Yeah. Well, now, Sri Aurobindo was inspired Haridas Chowdhury, who is really the founder of the California Institute of Integral Studies up in San Francisco. So your organization, the California Institute of Human Science, is in some ways parallel.
CIIS was founded earlier. And in a sense, California Institute of Integral Studies is sort of the first major integral education, higher education institute in the U.S. And it was inspired largely by Sri Aurobindo's integral philosophy. A unique difference that CIHS brings is more emphasis on the scientific aspect.
It seems to me that the idea of integral education isn't really new. One could find it, I should think, in Plato's Academy even.
Well, that's right. Yes. Plato's three great value spheres, the true, the good, and the beautiful, map into the value spheres that I address: the exteriority, the true, the interiority aspect of being good and the beautiful, and the collective and the individual. So yes, and so this has been with us for a long time, and that's an early ancient Western embodiment, Plato's Academy. There was also the ancient Eastern religious and spiritual traditions that could also be seen as integral. That's sort of what Sri Aurobindo comes out of. In Aurobindo's terms, you can kind of simplify into categories of education, integral education of the physical, education of the vital, education of the mental, education of the psychic, and education of the spirit. And in Motoyama's principles, there's a lot of similarity in his emphases, and as well as for the purpose of betterment of humanity in a global society is an addition that you see in Motoyama's articulation of his principles.
These days, it seems as if higher education has become over-specialized. I've heard one scholar say it's gotten to the point where we know more and more and more about less and less and less.
Higher education has become very highly specialized, and fields of expertise have become extremely specialized, and there are good things to becoming a specialized expert, because you can really drill down into a field and become. On the other hand, so one of the other features of integral education is an appreciation for transdisciplinarity, transdisciplinary development of ideas and education. That transdisciplinary goes beyond a single discipline and incorporates all disciplines, perspectives from all disciplines. Transdisciplinarity appreciates that there are aspects of growth and science and education that.
My case, which is very unique, I got an interdisciplinary doctoral degree at Berkeley. It was so controversial that after I graduated, they abolished the interdisciplinary PhD program completely for decades. It's been restored now, but there's been, I think, in academia, a tendency to discourage students from doing interdisciplinary work.
I think traditionally there has been that, but I understand that recently there is a growing reappreciation of interdisciplinary. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good thing. And we, in the integral education community, think it's really the wave of the future, that this is coming back in. Mm-hmm. I think it's connected with the the rise of the internet age and the technology age, in that we now have expert system computers that are surpassing humans in many ways as hyper specialized experts. So that's another reason for us to develop our value as humans who can transcend disciplines and work multi-perspectively and bring together elements of specializations for development.
Well, I'm under the impression that in your program and in other programs that are similar, I'm going to guess that there are probably a dozen small universities and colleges here in the United States that really do take an integral approach.
Yes, there are departments and institutes within sections within other institutes and universities that are taking integral approaches, especially to certain fields, like integrative medicine. I understand is a new board certification, and there are integrative health departments and there's a center for consciousness and integrative studies at University of Michigan, and there are these centers. But as far as a whole institute, even though we're very small institute, a whole institute dedicated to holistic integral education, really CIHS is maybe a little bit unique in that way.
I presume that you more or less expect that your students are going to be engaged in some sort of inner work in addition to their scholastic studies.
So formally in the program, we have a spiritual education component. So there are a set of courses that fulfill that component. And many of our courses bring in inner work of various types. So as an institute, we're not we're not emphasizing only one particular type of inner work, but inner work generally as important for the education of the interior aspect, the consciousness aspect of being.
What are some of the courses, for example, on the spiritual side?
We have a course in pranic healing and a course in conscious death and dying. We have an active Zen meditation group. That's not a course. It's just a co-curricular activity. And we have a course on psychology of the chakras, a course on Motoyama philosophy, several courses.
You're not wedded to a particular ideology. Like I know some religions historically have founded colleges for training the ministers and the priests of that particular religion. That's not what this is about.
The founder of CIHS, he was the head priest of a religious organization based in Japan, and they funded largely the initial startup of CIHS as an institute, but as an institute and with the blessings of the religious organization, we are wedded to academic freedom and the regional accreditation process, which sort of ensures academic freedom. And philosophically, as an educational institute, we are integral based. So we wouldn't be focused on any one religion or any one spiritual tradition.
So much education in the United States today, I think, is aimed at getting people into the workplace. In fact, I've even heard congressmen say, we don't need liberal arts education anymore. We need to train STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, so that people can get good jobs. And they should just, from high school, get some technical training and then get into the workplace entirely. That seems to be very different than the integral approach.
Yes, except that one of the key words of integral is inclusive. STEM education is wonderful and important. It's just the integral education approach also values more. The transdisciplinarity and the multi-perspectivalism together with a STEM education.
Yeah. Now, you had a conventional education.
Yes, physics, University of Colorado. And, conventional.
You had a conventional physics education in astrophysics, as I recall, and then you got a job working for NASA.
Yes. Well, while I was completing my PhD, I was with a laboratory that had an instrument on board the NASA Voyager spacecraft.
So, at some point, you sort of jumped ship.
If you could look at it that way, but you could also look at it as reconnecting with my early interest in both sides of both aspects of reality, both the science, physics, and spiritual traditions, mystical traditions, and religious practices. So I was always interested in both. Maybe you could say it was bringing the ships together rather than jumping out of one of them.
Okay. So when people matriculate from your university, they might get a bachelor's degree, a master's, or a PhD. What is the job market like for people with that kind of a background?
We have master's and PhD programs and a bachelor's completion program, not a full bachelor's program. It does depend on the program. We do have a clinical psychology track program that fulfills the requirements to lead to licensure, California state licensure in clinical psychology. So there is, in that one program, there's a clear career track. In the other programs, our students do need to be more entrepreneurial. They're not really vocational track programs, but many even in standard universities, many graduate degrees aren't really either. So many of our students come to CHS after some experience or developing a career of some sort already as well, and their education is enhancing and advancing what they're already doing.
Yeah, I do recall years and years ago, I think it was Emerson College in England, which was a college founded by Rudolf Steiner, or at least based on his teachings, the Austrian mystic and philosopher. And I heard one of the founders or leaders of that college saying something to the effect that we're not educating people to fill slots in the job market. We are educating people to create jobs.
That's a good way to look at it, too. Yes. Yeah. So entrepreneurial, innovative. So as innovative integral education, many of our graduates become innovative in what they do. And innovation creates jobs. Because
you're such a small school, the numbers of students right now are in the dozens, not in the hundreds. You're looking for people who have already know that this is what they want.
An integrative approach, an integral approach is what they've been looking for. So we are, in that sense, we're filling a niche that in the higher education market that is wanted.
Now, some students come to an educational institution. They've had a lot of life experience, and they want to know, can I take my life experience, which is integral because it's my life, my whole life, and somehow get a degree for what I've already done in my life? I'm guessing that's not what you have in mind.
No, we have specific degree requirements, a certain number of units of classes that you have to take, and a master's thesis for the master's program, a doctoral dissertation for the doctoral dissertation program, together with the coursework units. We can only transfer in a certain number of courses of course units, and that usually only from courses taken at other accredited universities. So yeah, we don't give life experience credit.
What was Motoyama's intention, actually, in founding this school? Was he trying to cultivate a particular type of individual to face the particular challenges of that he saw in the present era?
He was wanting to meet the needs to develop sustainable, peaceful global society. And he saw that as educating individuals in a way that develops them to function in the global society in a way that will work towards sustainability.
When I was young, I think I mentioned to you briefly, I had the privilege of living with Arthur Young at the Institute for the Study of Consciousness in Berkeley. I was invited to move in to the Institute, and Arthur's wife, Ruth Young, had founded an institution called the International Peace Academy. And that really was their goal. They found young students, and also diplomats who were just starting their career in the diplomatic corps, and they'd offer courses for them on how to negotiate for peace, specifically, as opposed to how to negotiate for the advantage of your country.
Our students who go through integral education and courses in integral studies, they do connect with tools like that to allow you to operate in a world. Part of what goes along with the transperspectival or multi-perspectival aspect of integral education is the capacity to function transperspectively. In that way, you can connect with multiple perspectives and bring fields and people together in a way that in a more powerful way than if you're not schooled in those areas.
Perspectival, that's it.
So transperspectival is operating on many and not privileging only one perspective, not privileging only my perspective, being aware of and able to work with and appreciate multiple perspectives.
I know that there are certain disciplines, physics, I think, being one of them, where the adherents to that discipline more or less believe that they are approaching reality from a privileged perspective. I've certainly talked to physicists who feel that, the bedrock of existence are these particles that they study. That's the foundation of everything. That gives them some privilege, not to mention that they can build weapons.
Yes, and it can be both and. In other words, in a sense, you can study particle physics, and there is a reality to what part of particle physics study. It's just not the entire reality of all existence. There's a quiet revolution going on in philosophy of science, and it is closely connected with the foundations of physics that involves an increasing appreciation for the consciousness aspect of reality, and that in order to have a whole model of all of reality, we are going to need to bring into a scientific understanding of some sort that there is a consciousness aspect of reality as well as the material particle physics aspect. Now,
I've interviewed an interesting philosopher many times, Stephen Browdy, who maintains that there is no such thing as a privileged perspective at all, that all perspectives are equal, that an interior designer who walks into a room and sees the furniture is that perspective is just as valid as that of the physicist who notices or intuits the atoms and the molecules that make up the room.
Yes, that's the multi-perspectival aspect, and there's also transperspectival approaches that can reintroduce values. So maybe all perspectives exist, and all perspectives have equal weight in some ways, but there's also the ability to recognize some things that have value too.
Well, I know different people put value on different things, but there are certainly various traditions that suggest that the highest value of all is what's sometimes called the perennial philosophy, the idea that we're all interconnected, for example.
I consider that as included in an integrative education approach. Perhaps in a more modern way that also reconnects with science in a newly integrative way, not just sort of picking a particular version of the ancient perennial philosophy, but really reintegrating perennial philosophy with modern science in a new way for the modern New World.
Dr. Thomas Brophy, once again, a very enlightening discussion, and it's exciting that in a way I see you on the frontier of education. And I set up this channel for the very purpose of giving people a new way to think about parapsychology as a modern scientific discipline, but with ancient roots.
I think your show is on the frontier of integral education, too.
Well, I'd like to think so. So I'm very happy to have this discussion with you. And I hope that students who are really want to go deeper than just watching videos and maybe want to get an educational credential will take a look at your school, the California Institute of Human Science.
Yes, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming to Albuquerque and being with me.
And my pleasure.
And thank you for being with us.
Book 3 in the new Thinking Aloud dialogue series is UFOs and UAP. Are We Really Alone? Now available on Amazon.